Welcome to Mind Body Monday, and thank you all for joining me. In today's session, you are going to be learning about the dark side of the clock change and at least 5 strategies to help your body handle it in the best possible way to increase your energy, your mental focus, and your mood. And I'm just wondering, you are here in the live session, go ahead, type in the chat when you think about losing an hour's sleep. This Friday night around 2 a.m. when the clocks change, you will lose an hour's sleep. Go ahead, I'm just interested. Type in the chat what are your thoughts about that? What are your feelings about losing an hour's sleep? And what do you think the impact will be on you? Be curious to hear. Because I've been doing, in preparation for this Mind Body Monday, I've been asking around, certainly discussing it in my clinic with my patients, but just asking people in general, what are their thoughts on the topic, not whether we should have it or not, because the clock change is a very controversial topic, whether it actually helps or not. The whole point of the clock change is to increase our work hours during more daylight savings, to increase more light. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts and feelings about losing an hour's sleep? So let's have a look at the chat. So someone's written unwilling, not sure what that means. On Thursday night, I have to go to sleep earlier. Someone's already being proactive. Okay, wonderful. Someone's written in the chat, a migraine in store. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That's true. I've seen that a lot, people's concerns. I know I'll be feeling more tired. It takes a week or two to get used to it. Thank you for sharing that, Robin. Yes. Eek, initially. Okay. Thank you. That's right. No one has too many positive things to say about this. And this is why there's a lot of discussion politically, economically, whether it should be abandoned. But for this week, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And you could ask yourself, what is the big fuss? You're going to be losing an hour's sleep, but how many times in our week, in our month, in our life does that happen? We go to a late night wedding. In a bit weeks' time, we're going to have the Passover Seder, the Seder, and we're going to be up till very, very late, probably not going to sleep at our regular bedtime. We have weddings. We get the opportunity to go to weddings. Some of us travel. We all travel every now and then. So we're losing time, losing sleep anyway. So what's the big fuss? And this is really what I'll share with you. It is a big fuss. And knowing about the dark side, the downside, then we can begin to be proactive, to take simple steps to make a massive improvement. So what I find fascinating is just how something so small as a clock change of 1 hour can have such a big impact. And before I share with you some of my favorite strategies to mitigate, to soften this, and even make yourself new and improved on the other side of this. But before I share the strategies, just look at some of the shocking research that is just swept under the carpet. So someone's just pointed in the chat, sleep patterns are very changeable. I don't really feel like an hour or two or less or more. Same with jet lag. I'm on track by the next day. Okay, so someone's learned to be on track by the next day. But most people are saying not very favorable things about it. From migraines, someone's private messaged me about gut problems. They get constipated, but ratty with the kids. That's right. So let's just have a look at this. There's an interesting body in the States called the U.S. Fatality Analysis Reporting System, one of those big public systems that track traffic issues. And they reported consistently an increase, about a 20% increase in fatal traffic accidents the day after the clock change, which lasts about a week, 20% more people are dying from car crashes as a result of this 1 hour time change. That's quite shocking. But listen to this. There's a fascinating book by Dr. Walker, who's a sleep expert. And he in one of his books called Why We Sleep, he studied hospital records and discovered that the day after the clock change, when we lost an hour of sleep, there was a 24% increase in heart attacks. Isn't that fascinating? So he looked at the opposites of this. He looked at what happens in the autumn when we gain an hour's sleep. And there was a 21% drop in heart attacks. In other words, just 1 hour of sleep changed so much. Further studies researched a decline in our ability to think straight, to make sound decisions. Mood disorders increased, appetite changes and cravings increased irritation, general irritation, and memory loss and poor focus. This is really interesting. So this just 1 hour of time change can actually cost life. And this is really what I want to share with you, how we can be, knowing this, we can be proactive to not get a headaches, to not get ready, to make sure we put self-care on the map in a proactive way to advance our health and well-being, no matter what happens to us, by being conscious and choiceful, if there's such a word. So there's another Swedish study that actually showed that our gut bacteria have their own circadian rhythm. And when we lose this hour of sleep, there's a significant drop in beneficial gut bacteria. And on the opposite end, when we gain more sleep, then there's a rise in beneficial gut bacteria. Not only when we lose sleep do the beneficial gut bacteria drop, but the harmful bacteria rises, and this affects our immune system and our mood. Because remember, about 50% of our dopamine and more than 90% of serotonin, two very important neurotransmitters responsible for our health, our happiness, our mood, our motivation, are not made in the brain. They're made in the gut. So just an hour of sleep this way or that can significantly affect our mood. So when someone wrote here in the chat, headaches, it can definitely be gut mediated as well. So research also shows that just getting 6 hours of sleep consistently over a short period of time can increase one's glucose levels in the blood and predispose a person to type 2 diabetes, increase our exposure to cardiovascular risk, and also weaken the immune system. So we're not just talking about, okay, lose an hour of sleep, I'll catch it in. No, there are some significant impacts, as we discussed. What I find so fascinating is that how this 1 hour change can have such a significant impact. I remember when I was a kid, I grew up in Johannesburg in South Africa, and every year they used to have this large agricultural fair, which was called the Rand Show. And all sorts of wares were shown there. And I remember there was a military installation on display with a huge searchlight. It was a 1 million candle power searchlight. And reflecting back on that, I thought this was such a fantastic analogy, because you can just find out where the Rand Show is. This is well before Waze, because of following the beam high up into the sky, because it was night when we used to go. And if you were to just take this searchlight and just tilt it by 1 millimeter down here on Earth, as this beam shines brightly into the dark night sky, over 10 kilometers, the leverage, it may just move, I don't know, whatever the math is, at least 100 kilometers arc across the sky. A small change down here is leveraged to have such a big impact further down the road. And over here, what we're saying with this clock change is this our loss of our 1 hour sleep just the next day, a 24% increase in car accidents and heart attacks. That's shocking. So we don't necessarily need years of poor habits. It's literally a good habit. You can begin to reap the rewards almost instantly. Obviously, being in the saddle longer with something good, you'll get that power of leverage, but also it works on the other side as well. So now that we have more of an understanding of the downside, the dark side of the daylight savings time, perhaps it'll give us more leverage over ourselves to be proactive and take steps to be new and improved on the other side of this. So here are 5 strategies or so that will help you navigate this Friday night clock change in the best possible way. And by the way, this does not only apply to the clock change. It's any time where we miss a good night's sleep. It could be from young kids, babies, the Seder coming up, a wedding, a family get-together, or what, a flight, whatever it may be. It's not something just to deal with and like, I'll get over it. It's something to be really conscious about, something to be really mindful about, to put in place the strategies to keep you at your best. Let's look at the first one. The first one is from 3 or 4 days. It's really from tonight or tomorrow, if you can already do that. 3 to 4 days before the clock change, just to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. Because just moving back your bedtime will build your sleep bank account. There is something called sleep debt. And just imagine if someone was a couple of $1,000 in the minus in the bank account, and every day you just put some deposits in there. At the end of a week or 4 or 5 days, you'll be much, much better off. So just adding a small incremental amount of time, 15 minutes or so, over 3 to 4 days, you will add back that hour. And yes, a sleep debt can be paid back by simply getting more sleep. An afternoon nap counts as well. So that's the first thing to begin to put in place. Just go to bed a little bit earlier. And why I love this strategy, because it takes advantage of the small incremental changes, giving you such a leveraged outcome. Because you'd think logically, all you need to do is an hour I'm going to miss. I have to go to bed an hour earlier, maybe the hour earlier the night before. Well, it doesn't always work out that way. But if you just make a small change, okay, you can't manage 15 minutes, then 10. You can't manage 10 minutes, then 5 minutes. But it's about being conscious about just putting back and building a buffer zone in your body so that when you do come to this, you're going to just ride that wave so easy. The second strategy must be move your body. And it doesn't have to be going to a gym or anything complicated. It could be simply just going for a walk. If you go to work, get off the bus, stop earlier. If you're taking a taxi, have the taxi stop, a block or 2 earlier. If you're going into a building, don't take the elevator. Just take the stairs. Get more movement in your body in preparation for today's Mind Body Monday. Part of my morning routine is to go for a walk in the hills every morning. And I got my walk in. But as I was preparing, I thought, I needed a little bit of a break to freshen up my mind. I looked outside. It was such a glorious day. It was about an hour before sunset. And I just took my jacket, had a sip of water, and headed out again. Just walked through the park for 20 minutes, breathing deep, just enjoying the beautiful sunlight on my face. And there's so much research about the benefits of quality sunlight in your face. I'm going to get to that shortly. But moving your body could be so simple. Go for a walk, or indoors, simply do some stretches, some yoga, some Pilates. I'm a big fan of rebounding, a mini trampoline. And if you want to watch my rebounding training, just type rebounding in the chat and I'll send you an interesting video about that. And if you're interested about the benefits of walking, just type walking in the chat and I'll send you a fascinating video about the benefits of walking. Tremendous benefits just from doing something very, very simple like walking. So the first thing is between tomorrow, tonight maybe if you can, or tomorrow and Friday night, get in 15, 20 minutes of walking. That way it will stimulate your body, get the fluids moving, and help you navigate this change in the best possible way. The third strategy is as I mentioned briefly, is just get outside. You can, fresh air. Get some fresh air, and as you're walking outside, deep breathing is wonderful, enjoying all the colors, the fragrances. And this week in Ramat Beit Shemesh, where I live, it's been raining, and I have in my car a full Amazon, bought from Amazon rain gear that is actually fitting for the people who work on oil rigs. It's basically an all-weather storm kit, pants and jacket. And I think it's really helpful to become a weather-proof, because the walking is important to me. It's great for my body. It's even better for my mind. It's where I do my thinking time, my creative thinking. And they say that there's no such thing as inclement weather, just inappropriate attire. So in my car, I've got my jacket, I've got my rain gear, I've got my umbrella, and I'm good to go. You know, and very often, if I'm caught in a thunderstorm, I just find a shelter. It will hail, it will thunder. I've actually been caught in the hail as well for a little bit. It'll pass by. There's a clearing, carry on walking, and just keep your body moving. You don't have to go to the limits I do, but you certainly can perhaps stretch a drippy drop and move your body on a daily basis, at least 3 times a week for 20 minutes, the research highlights. Let's look at the next strategy, which is which I'm a big fan of, is eat dinner early. I had my meal today at around 4 p.m. That's my last meal. And my next meal will be, a break fast, probably around 11 a.m. tomorrow. So it's a good 18 hours or so. I do drink, but having an early dinner before the clock change helps your body just regroup much, much better. And I have a rule, which is 4-3-2-1. The best is 4 hours before sleep, not to eat. If you can't manage in 3 hours, if you can't manage in 2 hours, and then if you can't, then at least 1 hour before bed. This, a few sessions on Mind Body Mondays ago, I shared some amazing strategies and most unusual research about how to get deep restorative sleep. And hands down, one of the most important factors to getting deep restorative sleep was found in those people who didn't eat before bedtime around 2 to 3 hours. So that's quite unusual. You'd think many other strategies will help, but that was the game changer. So at this time where we want our bodies to be strong and healthy, then that's another opportunity to not push off if you've had a late dinner, don't push off your bedtime, but rather try and, if you can, have an earlier dinner. Another incredible benefit from having early dinner is that it gives your digestive system a chance to reset. Most people who come to see me for digestive problems, one of the first interventions is to do this to at least a 12-hour gut reset, to end dinner and have your morning meal, your first morning meal, breakfast, with at least a 12-hour gap. That's just for beginners, just to get your gut and metabolism on the same page without overwhelming your digestive system. And most people can do that. Let's look at the last strategy, the sixth strategy. And this is an unusual one. It's related to something you've probably all heard of, but the source is unusual. And that is to drink cherry juice. Research has shown that tart cherry juice is very rich in phytonutrients. These are plant-derived chemicals, and specifically the nutrient melatonin. And research discovered when people drank this tart cherry juice 20 to 30 minutes before bedtime, they got deeper restorative sleep. Now, there's something very, very interesting they discovered with melatonin, by the way. And this is very important to know, especially if you have any digestive challenges, is that melatonin circulates highly in the digestive system as well. And it impacts the motility, that means peristalsis, the way the gut moves. It increases different secretions in the gut, and it has so many digestive benefits as well. Most people think melatonin, they think sleep. And that's true. And that's one of the reasons I'm recommending it. But I'm also recommending it because I'm always looking for leveraged activity where you can do one thing and it will have multiple impacts positively. So this is one of them. We're taking melatonin either in a capsule, tablet, or in tart cherry juice will increase your melatonin levels and help your pineal gland when melatonin is secreted in the brain, but also and give you deep restorative sleep and at the same time really help the gut. And anybody with gut issues, specifically IBS, irritable bowel syndrome, can be benefited by taking some melatonin before bed as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this Mind Body Monday to gear you up for the clock change coming up Friday night, 2 a.m. this week, or any other time where you're going to lose an hour's sleep, because now you understand that losing an hour's sleep or whatever it happens to be is not just like an inconvenience, but it carries some potentially very significant downsides as well. Some people have asked me, what about a nap? Does a nap help? Absolutely. I'm a big supporter of taking a nap in the afternoon. However, it is important to know and learn your own body, because if you have too long a nap, research shows anywhere from an hour onwards, it will actually push off. It will be so effective, it will actually push off your sleep in the night as well. And if this happens, it's not a good idea. So it's better to have a 20 to 40 minute sleep or power nap in the afternoon, so it doesn't affect the time you go to bed at night as well. Now, I'll just share with you another piece of research about coffee or caffeine as well. For those of you who enjoy your good cup of coffee, obviously having it in the morning, that's fine. You can continue to do that this week. But just to be aware that having a second cup or whatever number cup you get to in the afternoon is definitely not a good idea if the caffeine affects you. There's a specific gene for caffeine, and some people process caffeine very, very differently than other people. And if you're sensitive to caffeine, you probably have this gene. It's a good idea either to avoid it altogether, or certainly just have your coffee in the morning. That way, 6 to 8 hours later, or according to some research, even 12 hours later, the caffeine is significantly reduced in your body, and it's not going to affect your sleeping at night. However, I was just speaking to a patient this week, and I asked him if he'd heard of a nappuccino, and he thought this was some new kind of Italian, cappuccino. So I said, no, a nappuccino is a sleep hack. And for those of you who do enjoy an early cup of coffee in the afternoon or early afternoon, then you can take advantage of this before your power nap, just to enjoy your cup of coffee, because research shows that it takes about 20 minutes for the caffeine to enter into your blood circulation. So if you can go to have your coffee and then go to sleep pretty much immediately afterwards, then you can wake up with the benefits of the caffeine in your brain and in your blood system. That way you can have the alertness. You don't wake up feeling groggy or tired or moody, but you wake up feeling refreshed and ready to go if you need that sleep hack. Otherwise, if you just wake up refreshed and ready to go, then you certainly don't need that. Hope this Mind Body Monday has been useful for you, and I really, really hope that The clock change comes and goes, leaves you feeling energetic, bright, in a good state in mind, body, and soul. And I look forward to seeing you next week. And by the way, next week's session is all about preparation for Pesach and the gut and latest gut strategies to help you through the Seder and through the whole of Pesach. So if you have any questions about topics you want to cover in Mind Body Monday in general, or specifically relating to digestive issues for next week, then just email me at support@avrahamgundle.com and I'll hope to deal with your question. So thanks all again for joining me on Mind Body Monday. And if you're watching the replay, please go ahead and type your comments or your questions in the replay. That way we build the community and I get to answer you as well. I look forward to seeing you next week, Monday at 8 o'clock. And once again, Mind Body Monday is where self-care is the heart of healthcare. All you need to do is take one small step in the direction of health and healing in mind, body, and spirit. See you next week.